Hello, and welcome back to the Irish Tennis Updates podcast. My name's Adam, your host. This episode is a review of the recent Irish Davis Cup tie that took place in Limerick versus Austria. The tie resulted in a 4-0 loss for the Irish team against a very strong Austrian team. I think overall there's a huge number of positives to take from the weekend, and as you'll see throughout this episode. So I've been chatting with Sam Barry, who was in Limerick for the weekend. He was commentating for Premier Sports, which was showing the complete tie live on TV within Ireland, which is a really great thing to see for Irish tennis. I was down in Limerick over the weekend, and I was lucky enough to be able to attend some of the press conferences with the players. So throughout the chat with Sam, I've added some audio from chats I got to have with Michael Agwi, Thiem, Ofner, and Jürgen Meltzer, who's the captain of the Austrian team. So excited to be able to add those in throughout the chat as you listen to Sam. So let's get into it. And I began by asking Sam for his overall impressions from the weekend.
Unbelievably impressive. I got such a buzz out of being there, being back around Irish tennis and just seeing it in kind of seeing what it can be, I guess, just with so many fans out watching the lads. But I just think, like, before we get stuck into the matches, I just think the event as a whole was amazing. Seeing 2,500 people out in UL watching world-class tennis was brilliant. You know, I've been around Irish tennis for not as much at the moment, but for a good 20 years of my life, I was kind of, I don't know, there was a home Davis Cup tie that I missed, be it as a spectator or a player or whatever, just all the way for so many years. And that was head and shoulders above anything else I've seen in Ireland in terms of like a tennis event. So I think everyone who's involved in putting that on did an amazing job. And yeah, it was just so impressive. And as well, like, kind of cool for me as well, being from Limerick. UL Sports Arena has a bit of history there. Like Katie Taylor, Andy Lee, they've both fought there. Munster Rugby are based out there. Ger Hartman's is a pretty well-renowned sports physio. Like, he's had Paula Radcliffe, Usain Bolt, David Beckham, all these people coming into his clinic there in UL over the years. So it's kind of fairly well steeped in kind of sport and pedigree in Ireland. So that was just cool on a personal note. Yeah. So I thought the event was amazing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think any questions people might have had about that decision, I think were more than answered. Right? Like, I mean, the capacity there was massive. Obviously, it was a sellout, and then the people showed up, and it was, you know, the atmosphere was unbelievable. I know in terms of a capacity, like, it's so much bigger than you're getting in a Fitz or David Lloyd or whatever for that Limerick venue.
I think so, and I recognized, like, a lot of people I know from Limerick that were at it that aren't your classic. They're sports fans, but they're not your classic tennis fan. And I think, you know, there was a huge amount of new people that went and that maybe had never been to Davis Cup tie before. And as well, I think that, like, granted, Dominic Thiem would have sold a lot of the tickets, just that name, people coming to see him because he's a Grand Slam champion. But I think the lads did themselves really proud over the weekend, particularly like Michael Agwi did such a good job of, like, getting the crowd involved, and his match against Thiem was, like, really tight. Like, the team was definitely there for the taking, and I think he will have definitely, you know, kind of gathered a few fans or people from the sporting public in Ireland that wouldn't have heard of him before that. That when they do go back, when we do next get a home tie, if Michael Agwi's involved, I'd certainly hope that a lot of those people that came to see him play last weekend would show up and buy tickets again. And I think that will be the case, because he seemed to definitely get the crowd on side, as you'd expect for any home tie. Like, the home team are going to have the crowd on side, but I think he in particular kind of sparked something. And you know, as like, that's not trying to take away from Oscar, Dave, or Connor, far from it. But I just think that, like, given he was playing against a big name and really made a match of it, and arguably should have won that second set, I think, and the way he played as well, I think was pretty awesome to see for such a young guy. So hopefully fans will come back and watch him and all the lads the next time there's a Davis Cup tie, and, you know, why not have it in Limerick again?
No, absolutely. And I mean, as you said, until last year when he made his debut for Ireland, probably a lot of people hadn't heard of him. So, I mean, this is probably a big moment, because, as you said, he was probably, you know, from an Irish point of view, probably was the star of the weekend, you'd say. You know, tennis wise, obviously playing those two great matches. So yeah, no, great to get kind of introduced to him properly, and well, I mean, I think he's going to have a big year. Like, I think he's a lot of potential. Like,
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, he's got. I don't know too much. I don't know Michael personally. I met him over the weekend, but I don't know him personally. But certainly from what I saw, I mean, the raw materials are there to go on and be a great player. Like, great serve, really clean strokes from the from the back. Both sides are pretty solid, can generate huge amount of pace when the ball's above his shoulder. So he's no problem like being aggressive, which is what you need to kind of be in any way penetrating on the men's tour. You have to be able to clean up kind of short balls, and anytime you get a chance to attack, you have to be able to take advantage of it. And he was able to do that really, really well over the weekend, and he moves great too. So I think, I don't know what his coaching setup is, but if he does have a good coach and has good people around him, maybe to just kind of teach him a bit more the softer skills, tactically as well, I think he can come on quite a bit. But overall, there's the fruits there for him to go on and be a great player, and hopefully he can push up the rankings this year.
Definitely. And I guess even on that first match, we were saying there, I mean, match with Thiem, like it was a super tight match. I mean, Thiem at times, was fantastic. Some great backhands down the line, like it's, signature shot, I guess, for him. And then a lot of moments he was more shaky, right? He didn't look super high in confidence, which we know, right, from watching him kind of on tour the last year or two. But I guess he kind of tight moments. He had, the experience shows. I suppose that's probably the takeaway. But I mean, that match was really, really close.
Definitely, I think Michael probably, I mean, he did so well to break back twice. I think he did really well to stay composed. It's easy. It can be easy sometimes if you're playing against someone who's that much higher ranked and who has a bit of an aura about themselves when they get ahead, to almost feel like it's even harder to get back into it. Not that you wouldn't fight as hard, but it's easier. It's almost, you kind of expect them to put the foot down a little bit and to start to run away with it. And I think Michael did a really good job initially. Both times when he was broken, he played good, solid return games. The next game didn't have to do anything special. Team clearly lacking a bit of confidence, played shaky games as soon as he was up. But Michael stayed there. He stayed in. He kind of didn't look like he was at all panicked when he went to break down twice in the first set, and thoroughly deserved to be there in the breaker. And all things considered, could have won it. But not to be. I think just a bit of experience there as well. Tactically, maybe didn't play those points as well as he had some of the other points in the set leading up to it. Maybe kind of, it's very easy in a tennis match to be kind of uncomfortable with the ball in play in big moments. Nerves are a bit higher. But look, that's only normal. He's 21. He's probably never played in front of a stadium that size and that packed, and he's definitely never played against someone who's that good, and the cameras are on. He's in a team environment. It's a big match. Like that experience will stand to him. But I think the standout thing definitely was Thiem, just put the ball in the court on those bigger points and was a bit more comfortable, except in a rally that maybe Michael wasn't. But overall, he showed a huge amount of kind of firstly great tennis, but secondly kind of good. It's not easy to go out there as well and just perform like against someone who's won Grand Slams, against a bit in front of a big crowd like that. I mean, it's a completely new experience. So the fact that he went out and probably played above himself and was was able to get into it early and was able to be relaxed, I think that's a huge kind of sign that this guy has something, and that he's there's definitely a kind of a self-belief and an inner confidence there in his game, that he's able to just go out in a completely new environment and to show the best of himself. So although he didn't maybe get it done in the biggest moments of the matches, that will come with experience. And I think overall, second set then as well, like again, the start to sets are huge, especially for momentum when you've lost the first one. Maybe lacked a bit of experience there as well. Probably didn't play his best service game. Get broken, and all of a sudden Thiem is up pretty quickly, and it feels like that second set can go a bit quicker. I know he stayed in it and ended up being 6-3, but it kind of looked like after a set and a break, maybe it was going to be really hard to get back into from there. So but aside from that, just a little bits of experience there, end of the first, start of the second, which really was where the match was won and lost. Other than that, he showed so much kind of mental resolve and game to be there in the first place. So fair play to the guy.
I thought the exact same.
And just before we come on to discuss the second match, here's some audio that I got to record with Dominic Thiem, getting his thoughts on the match. And firstly, some thoughts from Michael Agwi. And I began by asking Michael how much confidence a match and a performance like that gives him looking ahead to the rest of the year.
Yeah, I got some huge confidence, but still I have the feeling like the tie is not over. That's the first thing, and also I'm still only like 900 in the world. There's like if I like go with huge confidence to like another tournament and lose like in the first or second round, or even in the qualies if I need to play the qualies, then it will be a big upset against me. So basically I will stay like calm and job is not finished.
How much of a help would you say the crowd was today to help get you into the match maybe earlier?
Yeah, the crowd was like amazing actually. It helped me a lot, of course. And without it, it would be like, could be more like clear for a team today. And
Thank you. Well done.
thank you.
Hey guys, well done today. Dominic, just a question. I know you've played a lot of places around the world. How does Ireland? Is this your first time in Ireland?
Yeah, it's my first time in Ireland, and it was really nice. Already when we came in with the team, it got really loud, and the arena is nice. It was packed. It's always really nice to play in packed places. Doesn't really matter how many spectators are going inside the arena at the end, but if it's packed, it's really nice. And so today was great atmosphere.
Yeah, and for your match, how do you feel it went? I know that first set was tight, saved some set points. How do you feel about the match overall?
Yeah, exactly. First set was tight. If you're like the clear favorite, firstly it went how it should go. The match. I made an early break, but then played a really bad game, and then I think Michael, as the underdog, started to believe a little bit more, and then the first set got really tight. I was not able to serve out the set the second time, and luckily got it in tiebreak, and the second set was solid. But yeah, of course, I'm relieved that I won it in 2 sets at the end.
And now back to the chat with Sam.
And just moving on just a little bit on that second match of Oscar against Ofner. I guess probably overall as a match a little bit less jeopardy. I mean, it was 4-4, good scoreline, but one break in each set, and Ofner never really looked troubled on serve. I think he was pretty comfortable for most of the match. Oscar had some good moments, but I think overall it was a little bit more of a kind of straightforward match from Ofner's point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're like, he served amazing. Like I'm not watching as much. I'm definitely not playing. I don't hit as much anymore, but I'm not watching either as much high level tennis as I used to. But I was kind of blown away by how well Ofner served. I remember I was trying to figure it out while I was watching the match. I was like, did guys used to serve this well and this big 5 and 6 years ago when I was watching tennis all the time? So like his first 2 shots in the rally were just so clinical, especially on serve. Serve and first ball were amazing. He missed big sometimes, but he made way more than he missed. Never gave Oscar a rhythm on when Oscar was returning. Like he seemed to be able to just hit all the spots consistently. And second serve he was mixing that up as well. So even when Oscar did have a kind of a look at maybe a 15-all point, he got a second serve once or twice. His second serve was coming into a different spot, or a different spin on it, either a kick or a slice, or he'd go the fast one into the body. He kind of had it all. So very difficult when you're Oscar, probably not used to playing against someone who serves that well and has that much variation to really be able to take your chance when you do kind of get half a chance. I'm kind of telling a little bit as well. Like Oscar had his first only break points in the match in that first game. When Ofner hasn't settled down yet. And looking back, who knows? Maybe if Oscar had broke there, he would have been able to put a bit more pressure on him. But overall, I think Ofner was incredibly impressive. Even though there wasn't that much if you were a fan watching that match, there wasn't as much to get your teeth into because there wasn't as many rallies. But I think to the trained eye and to someone who follows tennis, I think they'd have been very impressed with just how clinical he was on serve and how little rhythm he gave Oscar on when Oscar was serving as well. Anytime he got a chance to play big or to go for a winner, or he was doing it, so it almost feels like, I'd imagine if you're Oscar, it almost feels like you're kind of not in the match sometimes, even though it's so close. But that's Ofner. Oscar, I think, did again really, really well. Like it would have been it would have been a big day for him in his career,
Yeah,
playing a home Davis Cup tie. He wouldn't have had that before. I know he had a huge amount of family and friends around. And again, to go out there and to play really well, to show the best of himself, to express himself. And it's very easy to be within yourself in those moments. And I don't think he was at all. I think he was he was out there to play, out there to go for it. He did do that. And look, lost 4-4 against one of the best 30 or 40 players in the world. There's absolutely no disgrace in that. No. I think he should be very proud of his effort and played some really good tennis too.
No, absolutely. And I guess, you just do see that kind of jump up in level of someone who is top 50. I mean, he's top 40 in the world. So you see that. And yeah, it was a good match. And Ofner was so solid off the ground. I think that was the timing of his backhand in particular, like just kind of every time was just in that sweet spot. It was just a good, unbelievable sound off the ball. I think you see the difference in level. But as you say, Oscar, he played a great match as well and struggled to get into it. It was, it wasn't made easy for him, but he definitely gave it a really good go.
No, I was just going to say, I know I don't want to harp on about it again, but there would have been major butterflies, or I don't know. I was in their shoes, and I can speak. If it was me, there would have been major butterflies that morning, and it would have been, some days it's almost like when I used to be playing tennis, I'd know it's a match day in my stomach as soon as I woke up, because there's those extra bit of nerves. And that's the same for almost everyone you speak to. So I'm going to presume Oscar was the same, and this then kind of, you can probably multiply that by 2 or 3, just with the fact that, there's TV cameras, there's a big crowd. He's playing in front of his parents, who I know have played a huge role in his career as well. And that all adds just little different bits of pressure. So I think he deserves a huge amount of credit to have, even though he didn't win the match. I mean, it's a tall order, right? For anyone in the world to beat Sebastian Ofner indoors on a hard court, no matter who you are, that's a great win. But I think the fact that Oscar went out and was able to handle the day well and go out and perform really well, I think that takes a serious amount of courage on the day, and he should take a lot of confidence in the fact that he can go out there on a big stage. And although he didn't win, he showed the best of himself, and I think it shouldn't be underestimated how easy it is to go out there and let a day like that kind of pass you by, especially when it's your first time. Obviously, no one will go out there to be average, but it's very easy when you don't have experience in those bigger courts or bigger stages to kind of to be a bit uncomfortable by it, and for it to take you a few goes to settle in and really play your best stuff out there. So the fact that he was able to do it on his first day, kind of when there was big pressure, is something he deserves a lot of credit for.
Absolutely.
And now let's get some thoughts on the match from Sebastian Ofner, and then after that we also get to hear a little bit from Captain Jürgen Meltzer about the experience in Ireland so far.
Yeah, and Sebastian, well done today. That was a very comfortable performance. How do you feel about the match?
I think it was a very, very solid match. I had one break each set, and I had the feeling, okay, I'm feeling very comfortable on the serve, on my service games. So I tried a little bit more on his service games. But I felt pretty comfortable, and I played. After the first service game of the match, I think my service games were pretty solid.
Yeah, it looked like that. And how did you find playing in Ireland for the first time?
Very nice. The crowd, the atmosphere is amazing. I really enjoyed it, even though it was for the other team. But still, if the atmosphere is like that, it's very nice to be in the crowd.
Yeah, and Jürgen, have you guys, while you're here, have you had any chance to explore around Ireland at all, or around Limerick for the last few days?
Well, we have been in the city for lunch and dinner twice, but in the end you come here to play tennis and to prepare, and the days are long, especially for the captain. So we haven't had much chance to sightsee, but maybe on Monday we get some sightseeing.
And once again, let's return to the chat with Sam Barry to discuss day 2.
And maybe then if we move on to day 2, so obviously 2-0 to Austria going into day 2, starting off with doubles. Again, looking at a really strong doubles team that are regular partners together and are ranked top 40 in the world. So, playing the slams, playing all those tournaments, just so used, a well-oiled machine, I guess you'd say, for those guys. And against, obviously, Dave and Connor coming out to play those guys. I guess if you're looking at that match, first set, kind of slipped away, I suppose. They didn't kind of struggle to get into it. Then second set, I thought they did really, really well to just stick in that second set. Because, they were kind of under pressure all the time. They did so well to hold serve 6 times, take it to that tiebreak. Obviously, a little bit like Michael then had a chance in the tiebreak. They kind of were up, had I guess a half chance to sneak it, and the big points kind of didn't go Ireland's way. But I think it was super impressive from Dave and Connor to really make that a competitive match, and the crowd were definitely getting into that match in that second set. It was pretty unbelievable kind of noise and atmosphere, I think, in that match in particular, to be honest.
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like, I mean, it's a tall order for I mean, Connor, firstly, on his home debut, I don't think he played his best right at the start of the match, but I do think he settled down and got into it. But again, to be expected, right? But I think for Dave, like, Dave is probably, I don't know, you could probably count on one or two hands how many people know the doubles game in the world better than Dave. He's literally sitting in the room giving, team talks and pep talks before Grand Slam finals and Master Series finals, like, and he's studying. His job is studying basically the best doubles teams in the world and figuring out how to beat them. And he's doing an unbelievable job coaching Salisbury and Ram. And I know he's jumping in practice with them as well, and he's still in great shape, so he's more than capable physically to play a match like that. But to go in completely cold in terms of match practice, even though I believe he's definitely the right person to be out there on the court, like, no doubt about it. Him and whoever else he sees out of the team is his best partner. I think because of his doubles intellect, there's no doubt about it, he should have been out there because he'll see the game probably quicker and better than everyone else. But for him, it's a really tall order to go out just cold, like I said, not a huge amount of match practice, and to go out and perform straight away. And I think that probably showed at the start of the match, but they got into it. And I think they made a really good, fist of it in the second set. That doubles, once you start holding serve and once you start, I remember, like, a match can get away from you quick in doubles, but once you get your teeth into it, no matter, and you start holding serve, then it's like the game within the game, because it's done, because doubles is so clinical. It's only kind of the first two shots. It's kind of, you have to execute 2 or 3 shots and you win the point. Once you get your teeth into a match, you kind of start to see what patterns do and don't work. But you need a couple of games under your belt, like a couple of service holds to start for those patterns to become clearer and clearer and to see what works. And I think once they got the first 2 service holds under their belt in the second, it was 2-all. I think that, like, you started to see them really settle into it and really kind of start to see the path on serve about, okay, how we're going to serve, how we're going to get out of these service games. I think it was particularly obvious on the Juice side. They had to vary up the service spots to Erler, because he didn't particularly have one side on his forehand backhand. He didn't necessarily return better or worse. It was kind of 50-50. And I think they mixed it up well to him, whereas clearly serving to the ad side, Meadler's backhand return was giving them much more opportunities. But anytime they served into the forehand, they were kind of getting smoked. So it took them a little while to kind of see that. But once they did, they peppered Meadler's backhand. Granted, they might have, instead of just always going to his backhand with a flat one, they might have kicked it in a few times. They'd serve and switch. They started giving him different looks on, even though Meadler probably knew after a while he was coming into his backhand. But that really stood to them. Look, I mean, and then on return games, they weren't far. I think they were doing the right thing, especially Dave, kind of chipping, trying to chip the first serve return head over the net player's head, because they weren't getting a huge amount of change on hitting over the first serve on the Jew side. And I think Connor returned better and better as the match went on. So they definitely made a great fight of it, and it's a shame that they couldn't pinch that second set, because if they did, I mean, who knows? Like, it's so difficult to break serve at that level in doubles. So, if they were able to nick that breaker, who knows what would have happened. But again, I just think it's tough for Dave and Connor, probably not playing together. Like, they haven't played a whole lot of matches together. And then you get into those 3-all, 4-all points in the breaker, and you're playing against a team who are, playing 2-3 matches every week together. They're going to have an edge in those pressure moments, because the patterns they know work well for them are probably a bit more obvious than those that work well for Dave and Connor, and the Austrian guys would have just had so many more reps of pressure moments. So it was tough for them, tall order, but again, made a really good fist of it and got the crowd into it. So it was cool to watch.
No, big time. And I think just before, Sam, we come on and touch on how you were, as we said, commentating a little bit for all the matches, which was I'm sure really good. Just before I come on and just get a little bit of how you found that, I guess just to mention that the fourth match, obviously the tie then was finished. It was over, mathematically it was 3-0 to Austria. They played that fourth match. Michael Agwi back out against Meadler, from who was just out in the doubles. I think, again, you probably say similar things in that Michael was super high level, got that second set under his belt, playing really well. up in the tiebreak, and again, big points. He kind of got a little bit tied, and I know by the end, I think he looked kind of a little bit upset by the end of that match, and struggling with the moment, I guess you'd say. But again, the level of tennis so good, kind of what we were saying earlier, and just it's a tough way for him to finish the match. But hopefully he'll be able to, again, take a lot from that.
Yeah, I think so. Again, he played some brilliant tennis. And yeah, I remember bumping into a couple of people after the match, and they mentioned, oh, he got tied at the end. I think every tennis player in the history of the game gets a little tight when they're trying to close out a big match. Granted, it was a dead rubber, but it would have been his first win for Ireland in front of a big crowd. It would have, it still would have counted for a lot, like for a personal level, I'd imagine, for him. And I know from the team's point of view, they would have loved to for it to have been 3-1 instead of 4-0. But I think it's kind of what you do with it when you get tight, and how you react and how you try and play, and accepting a little bit, and accepting that the nerves are a bit higher, and then not necessarily playing the exact same tennis as you would when you're a bit looser. I think that's what you see a lot of the kind of top guys and hear from them. They don't try and be a hero when the stakes are a bit higher, or when the nerves are a bit a bit more exaggerated than they had been, for the match leading up to it. But I mean, I think again he did well, just lacked a bit of experience both during the match, kind of like, again, it's hard because he's not used to playing with such a big crowd, but I felt like sometimes it felt like he was kind of playing to the crowd. He was getting, great support and just little things. I think if in another couple of years' time, if he gets the right information as to kind of like mentally, maybe to stay a bit more stable in matches and stuff, and if his game keeps developing, I think in 6 or 8 months' time, not even in a couple of years, like sooner than that, he can win that match 3-3. But it just maybe kind of playing to the crowd a little bit at the start, which is only normal. He's 21, playing in front of a lot of people. Those little things at the start probably didn't get the best out of his tennis, even though he was playing great points and hitting great shots. I think from a match play point of view, could have probably tightened up a little bit there. And then in the breaker, he plays an amazing breaker to go 8-3. Needler, kind of like a wise old bird. He was still a good singles player. He was 200 in the world. He focused on the doubles. No, he just chipped the ball deep and played high or kind of heavy forehands up the line to Michael's backhand and said, okay, beat me if you can, and again, just a bit of experience there from Michael probably would have got him over the line, especially on some of those. He kind of had chances. He was trying to play really big on the 8-3 and the 8-4 point. I can't remember exactly, but they're still big points, even though there's a bit of space on the score line kind of coming to the finish line. So but again, like, it was there for everyone to see how good he can play, how athletic he is. But I think the next step for him, there's a big step to be made from having all the skills and being a great tennis player to being someone who wins matches. I think, and I think that's the next step for him. He's got like huge artillery, can play really big, aggressive tennis. He looks fit. He's quick. Like, all the fruits are there, but it's just about translating that into wins. That's at a higher level. I've no doubt. At the futures level, he's gonna win an awful lot more than he's gonna lose. But when he plays against guys that are able to kind of accept his ball striking and put returns in the court and stuff, he's gonna have to find different ways to win than just the kind of the way he played in the pressure moments.
Exactly.
But
and
positive signs for him.
Big time. And just a final point, Sam. I really appreciate the time, conscious of time. But just, I know you got to commentate for the matches on Premier Sports, which, I guess first point, really cool that it was on that channel for like Irish TV. That's really, really good. How did you find the experience commentating on those matches?
Yeah, it was a bit new and a bit different for me. Like, I've never done it before. So a little bit, I'm not going to say nervous at the start, but I was just conscious that, I'd kind of never done it before. And again, I haven't seen, like, I still follow tennis. I still have some friends on tour, so I follow the results, but I'm not watching like really high level tennis on a weekly basis like I used to. So I was a little bit nervous that my, that what I haven't been using in terms of tennis intellect or whatever I would have had in the past, is that gone now? I'm like, am I going to be able to see the game? Like, am I going to be able to see what's actually happening? So I was a little bit nervous about that, but
Yeah.
thankfully, it did kind of come back to me a little bit, and I was able to I was able to give a few insights here and there. Not nearly as much as other people would have done, but I think the guy, Mark Roden, who was the lead commentator, kind of makes it really easy at the start. Basically kind of puts you on a cloud almost, and shepherds you through the first hour just by him. He kind of introduced the show and did all that kind of stuff, and then just asked you for a little bit of an insight here and there, and kind of led the whole thing. But yeah, an enjoyable experience, and hopefully I'll get to do it again sometime, and hopefully I haven't listened to myself back. I haven't watched it back because I'd probably just be mortified. But yeah, really enjoyable, and hopefully I get to do it again.
Absolutely. Obviously I didn't get to watch any of it either. Obviously I've been there myself. As you say, hopefully, firstly, more chances like that to have tennis on TV in Ireland. Again, if you can get involved, that's brilliant as well. But I mean, maybe that's first and foremost, let's get tennis on TV as much as possible. Like, it makes such a difference.
Yeah, 100%. I think Tennis Ireland need a huge amount of credit for firstly having the kind of being able to think outside the box and bringing tennis outside of Dublin and bringing it to UL. I think was a great call and was more than justified. I think it was brilliant. And then with the way the whole event was run and the fact that it was on, it looked so good on TV as well. Yeah. And the fact that they had, they got it on a great channel with, I think that the whole thing was just brilliant. And hopefully it'll be a catalyst for more of these events being on in Ireland, and tennis just growing as a sport. And I know there's kind of new senior management there within Tennis Ireland that are taking the reins and trying to drive it forward. And so far, from what I could see, I mean, that's bringing Davis Cup and making it what it was last weekend. It was a pretty brilliant kind of first step. So
absolutely.
So hopefully for both tennis in Ireland and tennis fans and the Davis Cup team, that it's the start of kind of a bright future.
Absolutely. Sam, look, I really appreciate the time for all those thoughts, insights on the weekend and the experience commentating. It's absolutely fascinating stuff. So appreciate the time. I'll let you go. I know we're looking forward to next Davis Cup already.
Once again, a big thanks to Sam Barry for his time, for coming on for a chat in this episode. Just before we finish up this episode, a little bit of news from the last couple of days is that the draw has been done for World Group 2. Ties for that take place in September, and Ireland has drawn an away tie against Tunisia. So as myself and Sam would have mentioned during the chat there, huge amount of positives to take from this weekend against Austria. A lot for Tennis Ireland to keep building on, but we will have to wait until, I guess, at least next year to hopefully get another home tie and keep this kind of momentum going within kind of Irish tennis of these home ties. So that is just a little bit of news. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this episode with Sam and hearing some chat from some of the players. If you were down in Limerick over the weekend, I hope you had a really good weekend as well. And if you were watching on TV, I've heard that the coverage was really good, as was Sam's commentary. So I'm sure that you enjoyed that, and great to see tennis on TV in Ireland. Hopefully that's something we can see more of again soon. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you did enjoy it, please do share it around with anyone who was checking out the Davis Cup, or anyone that you think might enjoy a listen to us. Until next time, I've been Adam, and goodbye.